appearance of humans. What I mean is this.
You're listening to Unlocking the Unconscious with Urban Empath Rachael Marie Schaefer. Rachael is passionate about teaching others the tools, strategies, and techniques that have proven transformative and empowering on her healing path. Her light-hearted and heartfelt approach gently guides you to your personal wealth of inner knowing and tremendous ability to heal while challenging limiting beliefs. Tune in every fourth Sunday of the month at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern for Unlocking the Unconscious with Urban Empath. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Hello there, Wolfpack. This is the very first broadcast of Unlocking the Unconscious with Urban Empath on Wolf Spirit Radio, and I am so excited, grateful, and honored to now have my very own time slot. My name is Rachael Marie Schaefer, and I just want to give so much love and thanks up front to JP for his support in this process, as well as Kafunya Ife for inviting me to fill in on her show, Feel the Vibes from Your Guides, back in January, which introduced me to the Wolf Spirit community. And so don't forget to donate to this awesome listener-based system. PayPal donations are welcome. Now, we're going to have so much fun together exploring our inner knowing, our body intelligence, and natural ability to heal. In fact, it's my passion to share the tools, strategies, and techniques that have contributed to my personal transformation and healing, incorporating principles and information from modalities that I've trained in, such as Western as well as Jikajin Reiki, family constellation therapy, chakra therapy, medical Qigong, sound and music facilitation, aromatherapy, crystal healing, past life regression, strategic intervention coaching, and so much more. I'm addicted to learning, to say the least. So maybe you're familiar with some of those modalities and schools of thought. And I always share, I like to share what's worked for me. And I really believe in these systems, and they have all provided so much relief for my sensitivities as an empath and incredible support in my personal development. I found them to be transformative and life-changing for others as well. And having practiced and fine-tuned my skills in New York City for a decade, I'm very excited to share my wisdom and provide fun, interesting, and illuminating experiences over the airwaves. Being a learner for life myself, I also hope that you'll interact with me and share your knowledge and experiences as well. I think we should all learn from each other. I think this is how it works. And it brings me great joy to create a safe space for people to be lovingly witnessed, guide them through the exploration of their inner knowing, which happen to contain the keys to their healing, and even gently challenge limiting beliefs when necessary, because we all have those as well. And oftentimes they're our blind spot, right? For today's show specifically, as I promised on Instagram, and my handle is urban_empath there, by the way. If you want to connect there, I'll be taking you on a meditative journey in the second half of this program. Well, you'll be reunited with a longtime friend. And we'll be doing that after the break. So what will happen is you'll be asking and receiving answers to some questions I prepared, but you'll also be given an opportunity to ask your own questions, receive insight, guidance, answers, and wisdom. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's a really cool exercise, and truly demonstrates your ability to tap into that inner wisdom of your unconscious mind. So a little context for unlocking the unconscious. I've had experiences at different points in my life that, looking back, I would probably describe as initiations into spirituality, metaphysics, and even into other realms of existence. When I was 5 years of age, I began playing classical piano, and after becoming fairly fluent in reading music, I would have odd sensations as I entered an altered state of consciousness while playing. With the knowledge of the energy system that I have now, I understand that it was clearly my crown chakra opening as I entered a meditative trance. Although at 5 years old, I had no reference for the experience. In fact, it would freak me out so much that I would run out of the piano room in fright, looking for my parents. To me, it felt like an outside force was touching my head. And I wouldn't learn about the chakra system for probably about another 20 years or so. But looking back at this experience, I realized that I was always very sensitive to energy and my own energy system. And I sort of, have always lived in this world of energy, and that's kind of my reference and language. And not everyone speaks that language. So that definitely lent itself to my feeling like an outcast, not fitting in, being weird, and awkward because I was so sensitive to energy dynamics. When I was a little bit older, I was visiting my grandmother's house with my mom, and while they were out on the porch, I stayed in the dimly lit dining room looking at pictures of my grandfather who had passed away a couple of years prior. I remember clearly because it's etched in my mind from the heightened experience of fright, but one photo was of him in a suit and another in his Navy uniform. And I was just sort of lovingly glancing at them, and I realized that he was looking at me in the photograph with the suit, although I could have sworn he was looking away when I first saw it. I looked at the Navy photo, and he was looking directly at me in that photo as well. And I was stunned when I looked back at his photo in the suit to see him looking away, and then back to the Navy photo to see him looking away as well, just as I had initially suspected. And as I do, when I finally unfreeze from the grip of fear, I ran out of the room to the porch to my mom and grandma. But, this incident led me to believe that as I was still remembering my grandfather in a loving way, maybe he too was somewhere watching over me, and that maybe all of our loved ones are still able to see and interact with us at times. So it gave me, again, another reference and kind of a clue about what I was working with, right? And that, maybe this physical world isn't all there is. So later on, I'd say probably in my late teens, I awoke in the night to see two shadowy figures at the foot of my bed. And at first, I thought they were just shadows cast from the trees outside my room. I remember trying to describe them in my head like it was some kind of game. Like, if I had to describe what that one looked like, it would look like some kind of dinosaur, and the one on the left looked to be the shape of like a large Raggedy Ann doll or something like that, only like a bit larger than a human. And like that was the best way I could describe those. But at some point, I realized that these shadows were actually some kind of beings observing me as I slept. The Raggedy Ann doll shaped shadowy figure began sort of hovering around the foot of my bed and towards my head. And I was so terrified. I tried to scream no, but barely a whimper came out. Like I was so frozen in fear. I closed my eyes, and then when I opened them again, both of the shadows were completely gone. And I still have yet to kind of fully understand this incident, but when I finally began sharing it with friends, probably a decade later in New York City, I was amazed at how many could relate and had similar encounters. I've yet to see anything like it since, and would really like to ask that I don't. I scare easily. And I never want to see something like that again. Thanks. but never reveal yourself, right? Please. But, this is when I began to have an understanding that there are other realms with entities that we go about our existence here with little to no awareness of, but maybe they're much more aware of us. So yeah, it's funny how other people have had that experience and we just never talked about it for a long time. One of my friends who had a similar experience was a born again Christian. He was newly born again at the time and was like, yeah, this demon tried to turn on my light. And I said Jesus' name and he left. And then, so it's funny, he referenced, the being as a demon, which really colored the experience, right? I just sort of thought they were just shadowy, dark entities. I didn't associate it with any sort of evil, although I was raised Catholic, so I understood that concept. But I thought demons looked like something else, so I didn't label them that way. And another friend I talked to about, she talked to me about her guardian angel as a baby that was a shadowy dinosaur figure. I was like, angel? You called that shadow an angel? But that was her reference. So it was just so interesting to me that, first of all, others had these encounters. And it didn't leave a lasting impression. It's not something I'm consciously aware of all the time. I don't have repeated occurrences, or anything like that. So for me, it was just one incident, but it put it into my unconscious that, oh, there are possibilities of other realms here. So then I remained open to other things, right? And probably the fact that I didn't anchor it with some kind of fearful, reference to a demon or a beautiful reference to an angel had something to do with why it didn't really stick as well. But it's interesting how we can color our experiences with labels that way. And I have many of these incidents that kind of rocked my world. But, the final one I'll share is from my time that I was working in the metaphysical bookstore in New York City. Around 2008 or so, it was called East West Living. It's no longer around, unfortunately. It closed, I think, around 2010. At some point in 2010, I think it closed. I have talked a lot about this place, a lot, on past shows because it's where I went through, first of all, I went through a painful transformation during my Saturn return, which, I mean, in and of itself is an initiation into a whole new understanding of life. And so not only that, but it was also a place of intense energies and personalities of all types. So much diversity, so many schools of thought, different agendas for being there, right? And, by the way, that's where I met Kafunya. And she, describes her time there as boot camp as well. And, you see, East West had a long history in New York City and had many evolutions, all in this same location. So it really became a hub of all types of spiritual thought, philosophy, all types of different people in the spiritual community. So many would come just to soak up the vibes. You know, they would kind of just hang out. Some would come to play with our crystals and sound healing instruments. Some would come just to talk to the staff, because they felt like it was a community, and it was. They would sample our essential oils, kind of sit in the back and read from our vast book selection instead of purchasing them. That's probably why it closed. And, even to practice various forms of magic and energy vampirism. And I personally was the target of many of these individuals. But I even had an ally, in one of our regular customers who was an experienced mage named Pete, who, in between having energy battles in the aisles with his adversary, taught me how to mentally repair my aura after psychic attacks. And he would give me tips like don't look them directly in the eyes, because I'm not sure, I've never studied this. I've never studied like how to be an energy vampire or anything like that, but I know that there were a few people that would come in and either they had trained themselves to dilate their pupils or they took drops to keep them dilated, but they would try to look you in the eyes and mesmerize you and siphon energy that way. It was really odd. So he would always tell me, don't be afraid of not being polite. Just don't look them in the eyes. And it confuses me even now. Like, why would you want to do that? Like, there's an unlimited source of energy. Just beyond, just have to open to it. Why would you want to go? It's like trying to get hydration from coconuts only. Like, I don't know. It seems funny, but I guess, some people get a thrill from controlling and, siphoning energy from others. So that's what they do. But my interactions with Pete and him training me how to use my energy field with my mind and how to repair it and how to, and there were all kinds of types like Pete that would come in and just randomly, read my field and, and ask me questions. And I'm like, how in the world did they know that? And just really perceptive psychic people really training me how to protect myself and care for my energy field. Because it felt like I was really on the front lines, and that's why I say boot camp, because I didn't just study theory. I didn't just, read books about this stuff. I actually had to put it to use. I actually had to learn the use of protective crystals, and, not just for protection, for other uses too, and, implement, essential oils and use them to keep my immunity high. And because I was just so susceptible, and very green and naive. And so it was just like, throwing me to the wolves there. But again, it was probably the best training I could have had, because it gave me immediate reference, immediate experience, experiential, immersive training, and, actually putting it to use. So, and this was probably the best part about this time in my life. It was the longest and most intense 2 years working in this center. And by the end, I was so drained and used up and so tired and mentally tired from defending myself on the daily. But the best part was I was really surrounded by people who understood and were really well versed in this phenomena, and who I could turn to when I had questions about my odd and unfamiliar experiences. And probably some who inadvertently did some fear mongering around it, right? Who created more fear for me when maybe it was less harmful than it actually was. But all in all, I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. And granted, I was very green and naive, as I said, at the time, but I still look back and I swear that some of the patrons were visitors from another planet or another realm. It was like, it looked like and felt like they were kind of wearing a human suit that was just a little oversized. And they kind of had this not from this neck of the woods kind of vibe about them. And I mean, it was fascinating to me, but I was also easily frightened, like really frightened too, because I wasn't sure, what was following me home and, what I was able to leave there. So it was just like this really kind of time of messy boundaries and just for the first time learning I was an empath and that this is why I'm so susceptible. And so really, really learning how to use my energy field in my mind. And again, I was so new to all of this at the time that I'm actually not sure what I would think if I were there now. I have a whole new set of references. And I have probably a million stories to tell about my experiences at East West. So just so many crazy and just my overall time in New York. But that was the most intense time. But really, I just want to share this incident that happened when I had returned home to my apartment in Astoria one evening. I began to feel pressure in the middle of my forehead, about the size of a dime, I'd say. And I just kind of curiously observed the sensation, because at this point I was feeling a lot of weird things and learning a lot of new things about my system, and my energy. And what I noticed was it started to feel like this sensation was expanding, and it felt like pressure. And expanded until I could feel it in my entire forehead. Much like my experience as a child playing the piano, I perceived it as an outside force, putting pressure, which at this point, was the size of a palm on my forehead. And of course was freaked out by it. Only at that time, there was no one to run to because my roommate was still at work. So I was alone by myself. So what I ended up doing was I turned on the television, and that really numbed me out. And I have to admit, I still do that if I'm really frightened, by the sensations I'm experiencing, and I'm just feeling too scared to kind of be present with them at night, especially at night. When I'm alone, I just turn the TV on. It really does the trick. It just numbs you out, puts you in another state. It's like a trance. It just induces a trance. So I went to work the next day at East West and described the incident to my coworker, Sky. And he told me that it sounded like I was physically feeling my third eye opening, and that it was probably due to all the crystals that I handled at work on a daily basis. He also confirmed that the television will numb you to these experiences. So again, illustrating to me, sort of the sensitivity to vibration and my energy system. And at this point, I didn't know anything about the chakra system. I kind of knew third eye because that was like a key word that people threw around a lot. People always talk about the third eye. So I got that. I understood that, but I was not well versed in the chakra system. And I, was disassociating a lot from my body. So I was just more perceptive of the upper, chakra as an energy field. So it was also around this time that one night in a dream, and this was a vivid one, this is why I remember it, I dreamt that I was back in my childhood room, the one with the shadow people I mentioned earlier. It was an experience unlike any I had ever known. So it was unusual and I didn't really understand. In this dream, it was as if time was suspended and I was just there observing this collage of colorful flowers I had made and displayed on my wall. I was just sort of there looking at it. I had no body, no emotions, no reactions, no sense of time or gravity. I really just identified as clusters of energy. And I do recall a sense of almost what I would say boredom kind of settling in. What I would call boredom in waking life. Probably because in waking life I'm constantly riding waves of emotion and managing overwhelming sensations. But, so this was like a completely different way of being. And again, I went to work the next day and I kind of described it to a coworker, and they said, I had this interesting dream. And she said it sounded like I was experiencing myself as pure consciousness, which I stored away in the back of my mind and thought, that's interesting. And later I went on to read Eckhart Tolle's books, and because of this dream, I could really identify and understand what he meant by identifying with the observer in your mind. And that you are the observer of these things. That your emotions are kind of just flowing through. These thoughts are coming in, coming out, and you are actually the observer. You're not identified as your thoughts or emotions. So, and it's all due to this random or, possibly divinely orchestrated dream that I had that was just so vivid. And that experience, that dream helped me in creating a safe space for clients to be witnessed and heard without my personal biases and wounds affecting the session. Cause I can easily shift into observer mode because I've been there. I understand what that feels like. I know where that is in my brain. Thanks to this gift in dream form. It was such a vivid experience that I really can just revisit it whenever I need to. I can go back into that state. And now I bet that you're looking back at those perspective shaping, possibly inexplicable experiences in your life that were truly formative to your personality, outlook, and belief system. And, these are all images, emotions, sensations that we filed away in our unconscious minds that may never actually be consciously recalled ever again, but they color your world with context. And this is why, in part, I chose the name Unlocking Your Unconscious for the show. Well, I also love alliteration and thought it was catchy, but it just gave me that internal ring and expanded sensation that it was right. I had pages and pages and pages of written ideas, and I had to decide. So, but I really do feel like this title encompasses the work that I love to do with others. Guiding you to connect to that inner knowingness and intuitive insight so that you're not constantly diluting your guidance system with outside opinion, and are then able to respect when others honor theirs. And I think this is why discovery, empowerment, development, and love of self benefit the world, because when you are a walking example of these things, it cues others to pursue the same. It kind of gives other people permission. And the more you know and trust yourself, the less you need the outside world to be a certain way to feel okay. Like when I don't know someone all that well and I start to share some of these crazy experiences or, some of the information that I've studied, and I can really feel them tense in resistance or become agitated in some way, or even see their eyes glaze over. I realize that, well, maybe they have a different context than I do. So there's no need to go on. There's no need for me to force my experiences onto somebody else. And really no need to judge anybody. And, just trusting the data that I've collected from my experiences. That's what I'm doing. And that's what they're doing. They're trusting theirs. They're trusting the data they've collected in their experiences. So I can't fault them for that. And no use judging. And I think that when you see it this way, you need the approval and permission of others far less. And you second guess your guidance less. Learn lessons far more quickly, and you stop giving your power away. Because from a very early age, I suffered from extreme self-worth issues. I had spiritual and emotional pain, uncontrollable disassociation, and even merging issues. I really did not understand how I was doing just that. I was giving all my power away and forfeiting opportunities to have impact in my own life and the lives of others. And, I still slip back into my old tendencies to this day. Only I now know what triggers them for the most part, and I'm fairly conscious of most of my triggers, and I now have tools, and I know what I can do to create change. I don't always choose to go that route, but I feel far more empowered. And because I'm an empath, I have a vested interest in helping others make positive changes in their lives and to discover an inner source of power, worthiness, resourcefulness, wisdom, love, peace, freedom, fulfillment, and joy. Because I'm sensitive, I'm an empath, and I can feel emotions are kind of contagious for me. I've been known to kind of ask my loved ones, are you experiencing anxiety right now? Or do you happen to be going through some depression? Because I can feel it in my system. And I often mistake it for my own still to this day, even though I'm very aware that I have this, tendency. I still sometimes think that it's mine. And even when there's no real reason for me to be experiencing it, I would often have this happen with clients when I would be at my job managing an acupuncturist office, or I worked at the registration desk at this holistic center, and then I would have clients at night in New York, and I really would begin to unconsciously connect and tune into their energy fields. Sometimes I think it was them anticipating this session and kind of reaching out for my energy. And, if I had a session with them scheduled for the evening, and I would often think that it was my overwhelm or anxiety or anger or even irritation, whatever it was coming in, even if it didn't have an explanation for, what I was going through, I would often just think, oh, it's mine. And I would work on kind of managing it mindfully, trying to figure out what's happening. Okay, let me breathe into my heart, let me do cortices, which is a technique in body talk, to kind of, do some bilateral stimulation to get myself back breathing. Why am I feeling these intense emotions? Only to realize upon meeting the client that they were actually dealing with that very emotion that day, or they had a pattern of feeling it. So it's kind of crazy, really. I mean, these things know no time and space, but this means also that the positive emotions are contagious too. And that's the beautiful thing. So, this tendency to experience others' suffering, drives me to provide support and to share my tools. And I've accepted that, you can't be sensitive to the pleasure without being sensitive to the pain. It's just that it kind of all comes together and works together. And, I'm sure that you're thinking about all these experiences, in your own life. That because I think we've all had some kind of inexplicable phenomena or even, things that sort of initiated us on our path, unexplained reasons. We've made decisions. We've been guided in certain ways. I always thought, wow, I don't have this amazing story to tell. Other people see these entities, these beings, and have visitations, and I don't have that experience. Does that invalidate me and what I do? Like, it's not that amazing. It's just, I'm sensitive and perceptive of my energy field and others' emotions and sensations. It's not really that incredible. But, looking back, there are these amazing experiences that I've had that shape my view of the world and that shape, how open I am to experience more of those things. And also kind of color the experiences that I currently am having. So, and we all do this, we're using this reference of the unconscious mind that's kind of our encyclopedia, that develops as we store more and more data. And, the imprinting starts before birth, possibly from lifetimes, in the past. I have done past life work and had crazy experiences there too. Seeing lifetimes as mythological creatures, like who are possibly present in other realms that we don't see. Just like the dark entities. I don't know where they exist. I don't know. Like I don't see them now, thank goodness. But I know that they exist somewhere. So while I can't really explain seeing a lifetime as a fairy, for instance, and seeing a lifetime as a mermaid, I can't really explain to you how that is true. But there's part of me that feels like, well, it's very possible there's a realm that I can't perceive. And sometimes I will see little sparks of light in the room and I'll think, oh, there they are. They're the fairies, right? And I kind of color it with that reference because, working at East West Living, people talked about those things like it was very true. So for me, that doesn't feel weird. It doesn't feel out of this world. Like, it doesn't feel like that crazy. It just feels like it's part of my language and I just understand. Whereas someone else who doesn't have those references might think it's actually really crazy. So it just depends on what you've experienced. And this is, I think, how we use the unconscious references in life. So, we're really drawn to people that are like us and that have had similar experiences. And because we don't have to explain so much, they just get it, and it feels a little more freeing to be around people that are at least open because, they get there's a lot we don't understand and we don't see. And, kind of living in our own good opinion and, in our own validation, because if we are constantly concerned with how others will perceive us, we'll really be cowering and hiding in fear, which is, what Dorian Virtue is going through right now, a lot of people are, criticizing her because, she's taking back a lot of the teachings that she's put out there because she had this experience. And, I don't know if you've heard or seen the video of her explaining kind of what happened for her. It's really her story to tell, but, she had this experience in a church seeing Jesus Christ and didn't just see him, but had this whole experience of him and his energy, and, has this now new understanding of the world, and feels that a lot of the things that she believed before are no longer valid, that, she was being deceived by entities or whatever. So she has this whole new reference. And I feel, personally, not like criticizing her. I feel like, wow, that's really admirable to me, to really stand, in your integrity, even though, I think she was dropped from Hay House, because she needed to change and take back so much of her work and, stop productions of certain books and products. So for me, looking at her, I kind of feel, a lot of people might think, wow, what an ego. But for me, I kind of think, wow, like she's really standing in her integrity. Like she's, and while I might not feel like I'm on the same path or believe the same things she does, it's encouraging to see somebody just really not back down and stand in their integrity. And I think that's important in any work that you do. So I really find that inspired by that. I actually learned past life regression from her. So, she no longer kind of stands behind that. But she doesn't say, it's not a valid teaching. She just kind of says, if you feel called to do that, that's fine, but I no longer, do that work. So, interesting. So that's kind of just my outlook on that. And not to judge her or criticize her, because, I think it takes courage to do that. Especially when, there's so much pressure. But not thinking that she's perfect in any way either, So I also have a lot of reference from doing healing work, receiving healing work. I've had the privilege of having incredible healers and mentors in my life. And New York City is really a place where, you wonder why people brag about living in New York City, all the time and keep bringing it up over and over. But it's a place where you really go and have accelerated learning, and encounters with all kinds of different people, and you learn to walk your talk. You have to put the theories to use and test them for yourself, and especially when you're a sensitive or an intuitive or empath, it's so important. And it's really training ground. So the people there that are doing this work have incredible skill, and have just heard and seen a lot of things. So they're able to kind of give you context to what you're going through. For example, I was seeing, a healer. I don't think she works in New York City, in the city anymore. But she, because of, due to no fault of her own, I think that there was a space that closed that she was using as her healing space. And so it's no longer around, and she never found another place, but she was incredible. And I found her when I was seeking a Barbara Brennan healer. I had heard so much about the work and was just really interested in trying it. And I'm not completely sure what was Barbara Brennan and what was just her skill, that she brought in, because I'm sure it's like many things, you can incorporate, multiple modalities. And I felt like she was really doing some shamanic work, because I remember one time before a session, I was on the train and, I felt like a pain in my right side. And, you know, before each session, we would kind of have a talk and have a little bit of counseling, and she would witness me, which is why I love doing that for others now, because that really helped with my transformation and understanding what I was going through. But I talked to her about this pain in my side that I felt on the train, and she asked me, you know, who was sitting across from you? And I was like, these two girls. And she's like, no, it would have to be a man. Who was the male, sitting near you? And I was like, no, there weren't any men around. And she's like, it's on your right side, and that's your masculine side. So it was a male. So, I'll track that when you're on the table. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. So what ended up happening was I was on this table and she pulled the hook out and kind of tracked it, which sounds shamanic to me. I don't know. So I'm not sure if that's a Barbara Brennan technique, but she tracked the hook and said, it's from a male with a D name. And I was like, I don't know anybody with a D name. And she's like, who's the guy you broke up with a little while ago? And I was like, oh, and then I knew who she was talking about. And I said his name. And, later that day, he ended up texting me, and we hadn't spoken in a long time. So it really was like, wow, that was so incredible. And again, it opened up a whole new, understanding for me of my energy field and what I was perceiving. I could have thought, you know, I pulled a muscle, or, you know, something was going on with my internal organs or something. But because I'm sensitive to energy, and I think probably many of us who listen to Wolf Spirit Radio have these experiences, we perceive it in the physical body, but it may be occurring in the energy body. So, that gave me a whole new understanding that sometimes physical pain, and this is probably like, duh, but I didn't understand fully. You know, I didn't live in this world. So that was one session that I had with her, and every session had these incredible breakthroughs and new understandings. And so that really painted, my experiences going forward, right? As it would have to. So I then had new references. And now when I have a pain in my body, I think, especially when there was no possible physical cause, I think, oh, this must be energetic. Maybe it's an empathic, sensation. Maybe I've taken this on. So I'll clear it with crystals, right? Because I can clear, you can clear things in the energy body with crystals. And usually it does the trick. So, just understanding that when you're sensitive to energy, you may be perceiving things in the physical body that are not necessarily physical in that sense, like not an organ or, But anyway, so after the break, after I ramble on and on, so after the break, I'd love to take you on this meditative journey and guide you. It'll be a great opportunity, if nothing else, to just relax and get, free yourself up from some tension, and get connected to your breath. And I'd love to guide you, to provide your unconscious mind with some added imagery, some wisdom and context, all coming from you and your unconscious, right? So we'll be doing that after the break. Welcome back to Unlocking the Unconscious with Urban Empath. If you're just tuning in, before the break, I shared some of the events that initiated my spiritual path. And I did so to illustrate that, we give these incidents meaning, and they then become stored in our unconscious mind to later be referenced sometime in the future. And they provide context and color our experiences, sometimes for the better and other times not. But we can access this sort of treasure trove of resources through meditation, and in doing so, even create new experiential context intentionally. So I think we should maybe just get started with it. What you might like to do, and this might not be possible now, and that's okay. But what you might like to do is find a nice, quiet, relaxing space where you'll feel safe, that you won't be interrupted. If that's not possible at this time, no worries. The replay will be available for future use if you just kind of want to listen in and observe. Or if you don't want, the reveal to be spoiled, just listen in at a later time. You may want to dim the lights, lay back or sit comfortably, cover with a blanket, rest your head on a pillow with your spine as straight as possible. Think of this as an opportunity to get really deep rest. Sometimes you feel more rested after meditation than you do after sleep. And with all of us participating in this meditation, our intentions and experiences unite and are amplified for each one's greatest good. Even if you're listening on the replay, because this vibration, these energies don't know time and space. So we're all in this together and creating this world together, okay? And as promised, you'll be reunited with a longtime friend and be able to receive some wisdom from him or her to take with you. And you will be given an opportunity to ask your own questions. So if, there's a question that's weighing on your mind, or you may want to think of something now, that maybe just feels a little unresolved. So go ahead and get really comfortable as you would for meditation, or even just a little nap if you're not into meditation. And you'll be visualizing, in your mind's eye. But first, let's get a little more comfortable. So you're in a really comfortable position. Relax. Your spine is as straight as possible. We don't want to interrupt the flow of energy or create a block there. We just want, to feel at ease and supported. You may start to feel your eyelids become heavy. Your gaze slowly softens until your eyes come to a close gently, slowly. And we'll prepare for this journey to the unconscious with some slow, deep breaths. Giving equal time to the inhale as the exhale. A gentle, deep cycle of breath. Creating inner space with the inhale and releasing any and all tension with the exhale. Breathing deeply and slowly. You may notice energy flowing up through the bottoms of your feet to the top of your head with your inhale, and the energy flowing down from the top of your head through your body and out the bottoms of your feet with the exhale. So it feels like the energy scans up from the soles of your feet to your crown as you breathe in, and moves down from the top of your head out the soles of your feet with the exhale. Still giving equal time to the inhale, a slight pause, and then equal time to the exhale. And as the energy moves up with the inhale, you may notice that it gathers up any tension or discomfort. And that tension and discomfort moves down out the bottoms of your feet with the exhale. Continue to gather and release tension and discomfort with your inhale and exhale. You may begin to notice that with each inhale and exhale, you feel heavier, sinking down deeper and deeper, as if you are melting into the furniture, giving it all of your weight. Feel how perfectly supported you are. Continue to breathe slowly and deeply, feeling your body getting heavier and heavier, sinking deeper and deeper. You find yourself at the top of a winding spiral staircase. 10 steps that lead you down to a cozy, beautiful, decorated room where you can completely let go and relax. And 10, you begin to descend the stairs. Taking that first step, you feel your muscles relax. And 9, you take another step down. You notice the details of this beautiful spiral stairway. What is it made of? What colors do you see? And 8, you take another step down, feeling the sense of relaxation deepen and spread throughout your entire body. And 7, taking another step down, even more relaxed. You reach out to hold on to the handrail, noticing what it's made of. Is it metal, wood, stone? Does it feel cold to touch? And 6, taking another step down, feeling even more relaxed. You seem to be leaving stress and tension behind. And 5, another step down, feeling the stair beneath your feet, noticing more details and colors. And 4, stepping down, more than halfway there, all stress and tension are left behind, and you feel even more relaxed. And 3, stepping down into relaxation. More details of the cozy room are visible now. And 2, another step down. More and more relaxed, seeing the room in full detail. It's perfectly decorated in your favorite color. Notice all the details. 1, you step down and enter the cozy, safe, and relaxing space. There is someone waiting for you. A friend who's been with you since the beginning of this journey, who has answers to your questions and wisdom to share. This person knows and understands you more deeply than anyone else, and beams with pride and love when they see you. You look into their eyes and recognize that this longtime friend who feels so familiar is an older version of yourself from the future. They have a message for you. It's timely insight and wisdom regarding a question or concern for which you've been seeking answers. And you receive this message now. You ask your future self, what in life means most to you when you look back on your experiences? And you receive the answer now. You ask, what is the best thing I can do right now to take care of my physical health? And your future self answers now. You may ask, are there any signals or sensations that my body is sending me that I'm ignoring? What can I do at this time to create more financial abundance? Ask your future self and receive the answer now. Are there any blocks to this abundance that need to be released? And how do I do so? What is the main purpose for this incarnation? How can I experience more joy and enjoy life more? How do I open to give and receive more love? Is there anywhere that I'm settling for less than I deserve? How do I change that? Am I letting any fear rule my life? And how can I have more faith and trust in that area? What could I start doing right now that will improve the quality of my life for the future? Looking back at your life, what are you most grateful for? Ask your future self. What am I holding on to or worrying over right now that won't matter that much looking back? What traits have I cultivated in myself that I'm most proud of? Ask your future self. And regarding any hardship, what am I being prepared for? Ask your future self for some insight. What am I currently running away from that would serve me the most to confront it now? Ask your future self. Receive the answer. What limiting belief is it time to let go of? You may even feel that belief unraveling and leaving your brain somehow. What do I need to make more time for? Who do I need to forgive? And what can I do to understand in order to make that happen? What lesson does your future self most value learning, even though it was difficult going through it? Ask your future self, what are you most proud of about who I am right now? And now take some time and ask your future self any remaining questions that are on your mind. And see what insights come in. It may not be words, it may be sensations, feelings, images. Now you're preparing to say goodbye, but before you do, your future self has a gift for you from the future that will remind you of your purpose and your values. So receive that gift and allow your future self to tell you why it's important, or to show you through understanding and knowing. Now say your goodbyes and thank your future self for the wisdom and insight you've received during your visit, knowing that even if you don't recall everything, all of the information is stored in your unconscious and will be recalled at the proper time. You may want to embrace showing your gratitude and love. And feel the resonance that this is who you are becoming. Now turn back to begin to walk back up the spiral staircase. 1, you take the first step, feeling more energized and revitalized. And 2, you grab the handrail to support you as you climb back up, feeling more energy as you move up to step 3, feeling more energized and alive. And stepping up to 4, feeling strong and confident. Step up to 5, leaving all fears and regrets behind as you grow in confidence and vitality. And step 6, feeling light and carefree. Step 7, feeling motivated, energized, and excited. Step 8, all worries and fears are left behind. Step 9, feeling fully alive and joyful. And 10, opening your eyes, refreshed, renewed, vibrating high. And you might want to take note of how you're feeling now. Review in your mind all the information, insight, and wisdom. You may find that a few of the answers from your future self stand out and others are a little fuzzy. That may mean that they are a priority for you over some of the other answers, or that they're just actions that you can take immediately. You may want to journal about this experience right away, because just like dreams, the information that we receive during these meditative journeys tends to retreat back into the unconscious fairly quickly. And, people have different strengths when it comes to meditation. Maybe you skipped ahead a lot or went on your own journey altogether, asking your own questions entirely, or even had an entirely different experience. And that's okay. There's no wrong way. And you know what? You might also want to prepare some questions and do this meditation again with a replay, or just make your way back to this room with your future self. It's always there. You may find that you easily navigate back after taking the journey this first time. You can just snap right back. Some people are able to do that. Or maybe you'll just need to listen again and prepare and go down the spiral staircase again. There's just no right or wrong here. If you really resonate with the gift that your future self gave you, you might find an image of it somewhere or create one and put it in a prominent place just to kind of remind you of purpose and value that you carry with you. Maybe you had a really phenomenological experience that you can't quite fully comprehend. You can store that in your unconscious mind as a reference point, allowing you to have the context and an openness to now go on to see and experience more magic in your life. And that's really beautiful. I definitely recommend, doing this whenever you're feeling lost, and I really hope that you enjoyed this journey inward, coming face to face with your future self. May you have wisdom and new insights to encourage your growth and support your well-being. And know that you can easily find your way back to your future self in that cozy space to ask for guidance at any time. The main purpose, though, of this exercise is to show you how much untapped potential we all have latent inside of us and inspire you with your own inner knowing and capacity to tap into your inner resources. So in this way, you're never alone. You can always come back to your future self or other aspects of yourself, your higher self, your guides, create your own kind of journey in that way. I'm sure many of you have had experiences like this before, but if you haven't, it can be a gift to see, how much really does come up and how much wisdom is really contained, in this unconscious part of our mind. I really, really, really enjoyed guiding you through this today. I love doing this kind of thing. It feels so magical to me when I participate in meditations like this. And I find that when it's done in group, even remotely like this, through the airwaves over different, countries and continents, it really empowers it. It really empowers the experience of each individual to all come together in like mind in that way and to hold the space for each other. I would love to keep in touch with you on Instagram. My handle's urban_empath. You can find out a little bit more about me and check out my services at urbanempath.com. I'm currently offering 50% off my services for the remainder of March with the code March50. So if you're interested in that, I'm also Urban Empath on Facebook as well as YouTube, so you can find me there. I'd love to connect, get in touch with you, hear about your experiences in this journey. I will be on every fourth Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm really excited to have future experiences like this. If you have any requests or ideas, questions, feel free to reach out to me on any of those social media forums, or you can email me at info@urbanempath.com. I'm open to other ideas, and we recently did a blind constellation when I filled in for Kafunya on Feel the Vibes 2 Sundays ago, and that was really fun. So there are all kinds of things I feel like we can do. And I'm all about like the exercises and the immersive experience so that you can feel it for yourself. That's where I really think, the magic is, to allow you to provide your own wisdom and guidance, instead of just coming from my experience and reference point. Because you have so much potential, so much wisdom inside of you, and it's less likely to create, some kind of cognitive dissonance or something, because it's they're your images and references that speak to you, and then I don't have to decode it, which is a plus, because it has meaning for you. So yeah, I don't forget to donate to Wolf Spirit Radio. We appreciate your donations. I want to say thank you so much for your support, JP, in this process. This is so much fun. I really enjoy doing this. And thank you all for sharing this time with me. Thank you for your support. Until we meet again.
Again.